Are you a sex worker looking to build a new website or a website redesign? Then you'll want to consider Fox Digital. They did a fantastic job designing my website, Stripped by Sia. If you want your website done, mention that you're a listener of the show at foxdigital.design for 20% off. Tell them I sent ya. Welcome back to another episode of Stripped by Sia, your podcast for strippers, sex workers, and all the fancy naked people in between. I am your host, Steph Sia, aka Kimchi. I have no idea when I'll be back on stage again, but you'll just have to listen here or check my socials in case you want to come get a dance from me in person or come chat or, tell me how much you love the show, etc., etc. I will keep you all posted on that. If not, I am also a digital content creator, so I do have an OnlyFans, and I guess now at this point I can definitely say that I am immersed in cam officially, so you can definitely find me on StreamMate. I'm usually on every single Wednesday from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so come see me there. It's Sia on camera, which is my handle. And yeah, I guess a long time ago I used to be a sugar baby, and that was a lot of time and a lot of years and experience. I guess 10 years ago. And yeah, that's kind of me and my sex work history in a nutshell. So I've been doing a lot of things, and for the past few years I have been doing this show as the host and producer, which is a weekly show that I bring on different guests every single week to help destigmatize the sex industry, because as you may know, our industry is highly stigmatized, which we aim to destigmatize by sharing the stories, the lived experiences, and just being really transparent about the work we do, because I just feel a lot of our work is often just, people are really misguided about their opinions, assumptions, etc. So I am just here to set the record straight. And this week is no different. I'm bringing on a very special guest, which I will be announcing really, really soon after we get through all the jargon. So if you want to skip through to the 5-minute mark, you're welcome to do that, because I just have to say hello to all of our Patreon subscribers online. So a few of you are on the top tier and the second tier, which you get some little fan shout outs on the show. So I just want to take a moment to say hello and say thank you for helping support the show. All of your proceeds go to funding the website and keeping that up and running. And I just want to personally say hello to Snoo all the way from Germany. We've got Urb Sarkar and Jay Sunsern, who are both from Vancouver, BC, where I am from. We also have Ted McGuire. We have Marty Lang, Trey Lanty, and Justin Erickson from Vancouver, Washington. So hello, thank you. And a lot of you have been there since day one, so thank you so much. If you are interested in becoming a patron, it is patreon.com/strippedbysia, and tiers start at $4 a month, which is super accessible for like a price of a coffee. And you don't have to, if you want to just do it one time, like once a month and then stop, you could do whatever you want there. You can check it out, patreon.com/strippedbysia. Additionally, I'm also on a network called skyhawkafterdarktv.com. It is a network of video casts and other adult related industry like podcasts and stuff too, a lot of which my fellow peers have their own shows. Lots of guests also have their own shows on there as well. So if you like this kind of content and shows similar to mine, you might enjoy some of the shows that are on there. So go check it out. It's skyhawkafterdarktv.com. And last but not least, I was talking about the website and keeping it funded, keeping it up and running. That is all thanks to my sponsor, Fox Digital. Fox Digital makes wonderful websites. If you really want to get a website up there, which I think is really, really important for your online presence, or maybe you have an existing website and want to just get it zhuzhed up or get it redone, go message Anthony at foxdigital.design, because listeners of Strip by Sia get 20% off. So be sure to hit him up. It's foxdigital.design. Okay. Oh, under 5 minutes. Okay. Better. I'm getting better every single week. So, I was talking about a special guest that is going to be joining me today. And I'm super excited to get this conversation going because we're going to be talking all about virtual reality, which is something I haven't really talked about really on the show much. Like maybe we've mentioned it here and there, but we really haven't gotten like the virtual reality 101. We need to have a lesson on this. We need to educate ourselves on this because it's maybe where the future might be going and already has been established for quite a few years already. So because I am not an expert at this and I don't know that much about it, of course I had to bring some professional expertise on the show. And I would like to extend a warm welcome to Lindsay Banks, aka Banksie, the queen of camming and VR, onto the show this week to help me navigate through this topic. I just wanted to say hello and ask Banksy, are you there?
Hi. Can you hear me? I'm here. I'm here.
Who's the cutest?
I'm like, oh my gosh. You hyped me up too, but it was awesome also listening to everything you had to say. So thanks to everyone that's supporting. Y'all are cool.
Well, if you all didn't know who Banksy was, or is, who is Banksy? I'm going to continue hype you up, girl. So, Banksy, from what I know of you online and from my online sleuthing, you are also a fellow creator. You're also a cam model, YouTuber, speaker. You've also given back tons to the Latinx sex worker community, BLM. You've supported sex workers during COVID. You have over 10 years of experience in the adult industry, and I can probably go on and on, but I think this is my summarization of what.
Oh my god. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm like, wow, you did you did do your research. Wow. Oh my gosh. That makes me sound nice. Oh my gosh, cool.
You've accomplished a lot, and that's something that like when Crystal and I were talking about you, we're like, like wow, I really appreciate this person, and I feel like we can get along, and she would have a lot to say on the show. So first of all, thank you for all that you've done for the adult community and the community.
Aw, thank you, you new community. In the emails, I was like, do I say community? But I was like, it's okay. Like it comes through when it does. But it really the community is really a separate branch from, the entire adult industry, which includes so much. Like there's mainstream porn, there's
Mhm.
clip artists, there's cammers, there's so much in between too, amateurs, pros, whatever you want to call it. So it's cool.
There's a
Ah.
lot. There's a lot, and you've done a lot too. And I'm really excited for myself to actually get to know you in detail, and also for the audience to get to know you in detail as well. But before we like dive into everything with both feet in, I'd love to throw the mic back to you and ask how you like to be defined, or how you would define yourself in your own words and terms.
Okay, so my friends call me Banksy. People know me as Lindsay Banks, and I don't know. I guess as far as defining myself, I'm a very proud Latina, and my title. I have so many different. I've done so many different things throughout my cam career. I started in camming. I did a lot of different things with different companies in the adult industry, starting with my first cam company. I was a brand ambassador for Flirt for Free. I won a lot of awards with them. Then I went on to Fleshlight, and I was well, actually, that was kind of a collaboration type thing. I was a Fleshlight girl, Fleshlight cam
Mhm.
star, and then I moved into other work with Pornhub Records. Also work with Pornhub, and also clips for sale helped me with something too before, and now Motor Bunny and doing a whole bunch in the VR space, which
Mhm.
is a lot of stuff that I'm still learning too. And it's cool because like my viewers have gotten to like go through that experience with me, like from when I started, whether it's camming or my adventures in virtual reality now. It's really cool to see, even just in the year, all the differences and things that are on the come up for virtual reality.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be speaking about that later on in the show for sure. And gosh, I mean, as you were trying to list out everything too, I was like, I feel like I missed a lot.
No, there's a lot that, I didn't start social media until a little bit into my career. So I was like, okay with that, whatever. But yeah, it's weird to think about you look at the kind of people that are in those, that get those opportunities, right? And to be
Mhm.
somebody that has gotten a lot of those opportunities, it's really, really not just fortunate. Like, I'm very thankful. I'm very,
Yeah,
very thankful. But also because it opens that doorway too for other people to want to also do it because maybe they feel like they might relate in some kind of way. And that
totally.
goes that goes even down to being a cam girl, right? I don't know.
Yeah, no, there's lots. Yeah, lots. There's lots there. I would say for sure, like you've been presented with so many great opportunities, obviously because of your hard work. And also, it's like, it's really humbling to be in a space like that. And then for other people within the community, but also within sex work, but also people part of like the Latinx community as well to look up to you and be like, hey, she looks like me. I can maybe do something like this, or I can see a future in this,
Yeah,
right?
and the thing too about the culture is that we all look so different. It's such a big community, like a lot of people that speak Spanish out there in the world right now. Like, and it's just so, I don't know, like, sure, maybe somebody might look like me, but maybe it's just even knowing, because there's some people I have no clue that they're even have any relation to my background. Maybe, I don't know, for some reason I find out you're Mexican, and I'm like, oh my God, you relate on so many more levels because of the experiences that you've gone through that maybe they kind of understand a little bit more about. So it's cool to
Yeah, there's
find
like almost
those.
like more of a closeness with that.
Yeah, it really is. It's almost like being from Texas.
Well, why don't we start right at the beginning in terms of like, because I know you kind of just glossed over it a little bit, but how did you get started in sex work?
So, I say, I'm like, if you, when I promote this, I'm like, if you have listened before, a lot of people know that I started because it was a very survival sex work type of thing. I
Hmm.
was in a situation where, I needed to make money and I need my money, I need it now. And, you know, camming really, I thought it was like fake. I found it on actually Craigslist. It was a Craigslist ad. It was a
Oh.
Craigslist ad, and it was like one of those make $5,000 in a week or something. I'm like, come on, like whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, like ended up reaching out, did whatever. I had no clue that it was even part of the adult industry, to be honest. And
Hmm.
then I talked with somebody about it, and they're all, no, it's like what? And I'm like, I don't know. Okay, like let me try, whatever. And I tried, and I was like, I'm gonna just see if it's even real. Do I get money back? And sure enough, I got that first check. I just made the payout, which was like $100. Waited to see if it was real, and I got money, and I put it in the bank account, and I was like, what the heck? This is legit. Like, okay, I worked more, and then the more I worked, I mean, the more people saw, and the more you work, the more opportunities you get. But like, it was just so, I don't know. It was a transition to even be okay with it in the end eventually, because it's something that I was very private about. Nobody kind of knew, kind of thing. And when I slowly started to tell people, um earlier on in my career, it was a scary thing, you know what I mean? And there's people that very few people that stuck around, to be honest. But it just, like I said, is a transition to getting to a point where you're okay with what you're doing to sustain your life. And if it's something like, I've had so many great experiences in the adult industry, and that's why I stayed in it. And aside from, financially, I've met so many people that have taught me so many things. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm sure you know a lot of the behind the scenes too. It's just, it's really crazy. It's really crazy those things you go through.
No, definitely. And going back to kind of what you said too, because there's so many great points in just the little that you told me there. Um, yes. So you were in a situation that, you needed money yesterday. You needed the money for this. And that's a lot of people's reasons in terms of like why they get into sex work. We all have different reasons why we get into sex work, correct? But this was something that you initially had kept really private. Was this because were you facing your own stigma and shame for the work that you were doing at this point, and like you're like, I don't know if I ever want to divulge this kind of information to anybody?
That's a really good question. I've never been asked this question. Um, I think internally, yeah, I never even knew that it could be something that I could continue on in my life and have a job, let alone a career. And so, yeah, I was ashamed. I would say I was ashamed. Like I didn't want to tell any of my family members. I didn't want to tell, and even like I was in a relationship at the time, and it was very hard. It was a very, very difficult. I guess just getting used to it being like of sexual nature, right? But it also being like your job. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things that even like made me feel more ashamed, right? With experiences like, what people say, people that are close to you, that the things that they'll say that really do affect why you are not public, why you don't explain and tell people and want to show other people that, hey, you can actually thrive in something like this and actually learn how to feel empowered, even because I did ultimately come out and I feel like sometimes I'm like, am I a little too liberated here? Because, oh my gosh, I can talk and I will say things now that I'm like, oh, I used to be very like, people would walk all over me. And I I'll be damned if I let that keep happening now. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know about other people, but I'm just speaking for myself too. Like, when I first started in sex work too, like when I was a sugar baby, I didn't even consider that as sex work because I was like trying to put a separation between the two. I'm like, no, I'm just going on like paid dates and I'm just, being a companion for this person, a paid companion, and that's not sex work. But like, I was like, I didn't know about what like whorephobia was at that time, and I was just like pushing it down because I was like, I don't want to be associated with sex work or the adult industry. That's not who I am. That's not, it's not something I'm going to parade around. So I feel like maybe there might be some kind of similarity there too, and also just not understanding, like when we're first getting into the industry, what this work actually entails. Sometimes it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Truly, yeah, truly. Oh my God, it is so much more. It really is a business when you treat it like a business, like when you are thriving from it, like it's because you've started treating it like a business. It does
Yeah,
not
so
necessarily
good.
that it's a 9 to 5, but
But it's your own
it,
hustle.
yeah, and I think that's what's so awesome about being in the kind of spaces that we are because we can kind of be so create. We have the option to be so creative and do I don't know, figure out a way how to do something you're good at or that you like. I don't know. You have so much opportunity to
Take advantage of.
yeah, take advantage, zero in on what I don't know. And then ultimately maybe monetize if you like. But if some people just like doing it for the pleasure too, so teach their own.
Yeah, to each their own. Because then sometimes too, like some people look down upon other people and how they conduct their business, or the rates that they charge and stuff too. And I feel like there's a certain degree of privilege that can come with that, and also even the ability to share with people what you do, like to the ability to be like, okay, I'm an out sex worker, or to be face out even. Like there's so much with that, and sometimes people don't understand other people's reasonings why they might be in this line of work, or if there's like children or family or abusive situations involved. Like you can't judge, you just can't.
Yeah, because we really don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of people that I've met and encountered in the adult industry, if anything, like we try very hard to be, or at least, I want to be friends with people that want to be aware and like very, let's say, like open-minded and allow people to not just express themselves, but like at the same time be educated enough to know how to do it in the right way and how to make sure that you're protected, but also people around you are protected as well, right? Because a lot of people have kids, a lot of people have, let's say, relationships that they might not want to talk about to fans, or
Hmm.
people that are open about their relationship that, hey, you need to be careful and watch out with the privacy maybe of your significant other. I don't know. There's so much to it.
Yeah, there's so many reasons. Yeah, and even like cultural reasons too. Like as like for me, an Asian person, like it's very different. Like sex work is like not a thing. Like people, we just don't do that, and that's not viewed as legitimate. And there's like a lot of shame and stigma that comes with that. Like it's, I don't know how it might be in Mexican culture. Is it kind of similar to that as well?
It's similar. I feel like with both ends, like in the Asian culture and, you know, uh, Hispanic culture, that we're very fetishized in certain aspects, in certain ways. So it's very relatable in a sense that, there's certain things that are very stereotypical about even the titling of what a lot of major companies and brands like will put, or even things that are incorrect just to fall under a
Yeah.
title or to monetize off of that, and it's kind of like exploitative to me. But
Oh,
also,
totally.
I'm just like, what? Like, you can take the time to actually ask some. I have a close friend of mine where she's Indian and Indo-Caribbean. And they always say that she's Mexican. She's always labeled under the Latina category. And she's just like, they don't even have a biracial option, and
Mhm.
it's sad to hear. Like, I hate hearing it because I know it's not just her. There's a lot of stories I've heard and experiences from people that are in mainstream industries and do mainstream porn, where you can really dive into a whole bunch of issues that come with not just our family and our background, but also it's so embedded into the system of like how it kind of runs.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? Systemic. Systemic, like problematic. And I mean,
Very
this,
problematic.
oh my gosh, like this is we could probably spend a whole
Because
hour
like
talking about this.
once you break through, like, okay, I'm out, I'm open about this, like whatever's happened, like with your personal relationships have happened, right? You move on to a point of like, okay, the people in the industry and like kind of where you stand, like, are you going to be somebody that just continues to be a worker or whatever, or are you going to speak out too? And because you kind of went through all of this stuff, and there's other people and people that are new to the industry that come into it with similar backgrounds, and they might be going through something that maybe you were on a panel speaking and they heard you speaking and they were just like, I don't know. It's so much. It's
Yeah,
much.
no, I hear you with that too. It's just, it's like we need to say something, and that's why I'm really glad for all the projects that you're involved with too, and your outspokenness and advocacy as well, because a lot of these things are systemically broken and based on problematic stereotypes, which honestly should be stopped at the forefront, but still continue to happen, or super rampant in our industry especially. But again, like we can be talking about this for another hour for sure, or more than that. But
I know.
which which I find super interesting, and also it will just get me really fired up.
I know. I'm like, uh oh, we if we ever meet in real life, hopefully you come to a show or something. Like we definitely need to like have a dinner or like hang out, talk, because so
Get
much
this
can get
shit off your
done just by
chest.
the conversation.
Yeah, and that's how change is made, right? Through sparking conversation and normalizing a lot of our work, right? And stuff like this. But I love to talk about to you as well, in addition to all this, about virtual reality and your involvement in how you even got introduced into that corner of sex work and that kind of space. But maybe we'll start off from the top in terms of like defining maybe in your own words what virtual reality is for the audience and for those who like maybe don't know what that whole area
Okay.
is.
So I guess in my own words, virtual reality is an immersive experience that you can get into virtually. It typically is enjoyed, hopefully, with a headset. But on YouTube, you can also view any video that's uploaded in virtual reality in standard HD for those of you that do not have a headset, which I am a high believer that people should be given the resources to be able to view the kind of content, especially if they've never had the experience before, because it's so crazy to hear how many people have not had that experience with virtual. They've never even had one experience with VR because they don't have access to a headset. They're very costly. So,
Yeah, they are.
yeah. And I guess me and my how I got into the space, I was kind of excited because I was actually offered another brand ambassadorship with a different cam company, a strip chat,
Mm.
where they have streaming in VR. It is in 180 VR. And if y'all don't know what 180 VR is, that means it's just the front side versus 360, which is you can view the entire.
Everything.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I we could get into some stuff there for sure, but it is definitely a different experience, especially when you're live. Getting to be
Mm.
there, it definitely makes you feel more connected. I feel like in my experience and from experiences that I've heard from other people as well. But um, yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to talk more about the VR, but can I have
No,
another
let's.
question?
Let's definitely talk about all things VR for sure too. So let's talk about and I didn't even know that you can watch it in HD at all. I thought you only had to have the headset, but like let's talk about accessibility and equipment, what the cost might be, because I have no idea what that costs nowadays.
So, as far as okay, so I have a personal branded VR headset that at least for me, it made sense to do something that was more low cost, something that was going to be mobily accessible so somebody can put their phone inside the headset to watch me because on Strip Chat, you can view me on, I guess, your phone. VR, however that you can go and check you can go and check later on my stuff how to figure it out. But yeah, it's just and I'm like, oh, where was I going with this? It's very different, like the accessibility to it, because companies are very worried about, okay, how are you going to make money off of doing VR? And there's not a lot of return back on, there's not a lot of profit, let's say, right now going on in VR, unless you have a customer that, and typically, if you have somebody using an Oculus or a headset that is, more costly, then that person is more likely to be converted to spend more they're more likely to spend more money because they probably have the income for that. So for me, I was, well, there's all different kinds of headsets, right? There's very expensive ones, there's some that are kind of in between. And for me, I was like, well, it is definitely a different kind of headset, but it also comes with secret content. It also comes with, and I,
No.
I was trying to think about my kind of viewer and the viewers that also might not have the resources to experience it. And once they experience
Mm.
that, they're going to want to come along with you for the ride because it is very different. It is very different. And I don't know, have you ever tried VR?
I've tried it in a video game setting.
And you know
Yeah.
what? Which gaming, there's a lot of things that we could even touch on, like as far as gaming, that gaming has already implemented, but it does impact like us as sex workers too. But yes, freaking, I've I've had people literally tell me like, especially people that are like paraplegic, that
Hmm.
their first experience like trying VR, they went through like, I forgot what the experience was. It was not like a live stream. It was a regular VR video, and they were like, it felt like they were walking again, like because they had
Wow.
lost their legs to due to being in the military. And so
Right.
when he tried on that experience, it must have been a really damn good headset too, because whatever. But I was like, oh my god, wow, like the kind of experience, like I one time, like I'll show you literally. I one time reached and I like cleaned the lens to this right here, and my customer was like, "Oh my god." He's like, it really felt like as if you were reaching and like rubbing his eyebrow or something, because it was that
Really?
yeah. So
So cool.
it's kind of interesting. And then hearing, I get to interview people in 360 VR on my YouTube, and
Ah,
hearing performers talk about how they shoot VR even is super interesting. Super, like the things they do to get that POV VR content out, because I swear like it's a lot of work that they put into that. But
yeah.
I really believe that it's only getting better. Technology only gets better. So
Hmm.
for us to stay kind of involved and be leaders in that space, is kind of important, because we are also are producing the content and being the performers for people and bigger companies that are making that content for us too. So it's like, you know, it's a lot to learn, but
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot there for sure, and like maybe we can go into some specifics, like for say like an entry level, a person like is curious about VR but doesn't want to spend a lot of money on a really fancy headset. What kind of range are we kind of looking at, or like starting range in general?
so if you want like a medium type, like okay, in between, I feel like 300 to 400 is something that I'd invest to get, a better quality headset.
Hmm.
I think the newer Oculus, is there Google that's coming out with one too. It's like six. There's something that's like $600, which is a pretty great one. That might be the Quest.
Wow.
And I mean, it only gets more expensive from there. Like the better the quality is, but yeah, mine is $100.
Oh, that's good.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
mine is
access.
$100 because I do want it to be. I mean, the customer is going to use it to see me in VR in a show, so
Yeah.
and they get an
So
autograph.
cool.
So
Love it. Yeah. Well, that's okay though. Yeah, yeah. Because like I feel like the range can be like quite accessible for some, and then it can kind of like go up from there. So would that kind of change the clientele that you would receive then? Yeah, yeah. Talk to
I
us
think
about
so.
that.
Okay, so when I'm streaming live, I definitely see the difference, like how many people come into the room that are in VR, which um is more than a handful for sure throughout the night. Like people pop in and out. Sometimes it's the same people though, which is why it's like, well, it's still it's slowly growing for sure. When I first
Hmm.
started streaming, I guess, which was now, is it 2 years or something? Oh my god, it's crazy to think about, because it was
Time
like
flies.
definitely like okay, like kind of pulling teeth, like and like, but
Mhm.
people are resistant to change. People are really resistant if they're used to a certain kind of way, especially with technology. But we're literally we're in a technological revolution. Like it's an industrial revolution.
Totally. I mean, when you were first kind of transitioning into VR, because I guess yeah, you had like a brand partnership that was presented to you. Did you have any hesitations kind of going into it because you're like, I have no freaking idea what this is about, or like, what about the clientele? Maybe they're not there.
I was excited about it. To be honest, I don't think there's ever really been too much hesitation on my part to be a part of the space because I've always kind of wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Even before I was presented with the option, I was really into getting into more of the tech space or wanting to be. And
Yeah.
so I will say, whenever, if you're new and listening to this or watching this, when you're presented with options to be featured or to be somebody that streams in VR on a platform, if they're offering that, because sometimes the way that I will disclaim, this is my VR camera. I purchased it because sometimes some companies will come back and like, even though you have put in investment of your time and your clientele and making whatever, it's like, oh, okay, interesting. Like how some people will move around when without disclaiming any names, like you just have to make sure that you're not being used and that you ask questions as to, well, how much are your feature shows paying, what is your rate, or and if you're asked, already have your rate prepared or something. But there there are companies out there that will definitely try to, especially because you're new and because this is new technology. They typically, people are, all I've heard is like from performers, at least on my end, maybe it's because I'm in the space, is like excitement about the technology.
Mhm.
So I want there to be the excitement, but also not to be exploited, right?
Right. Yeah. That's the last thing we want, right? Because I feel like anytime something new is emerging in the space, there's always like that always like the dark corner that there's always going to be someone's going to try to take advantage of a performer or like or even clientele sometimes too. That can happen on that side as well that no one likes to talk about, but I'm going to say it here.
It's
So
true. It's so true.
yeah.
And like sometimes the let's say whether it's a like a client, a user, and sometimes it's a top client or a top person that like you thought you were very close to, and because they think that they have, I don't know, a financial hold of you or something, or
Mm,
that they can either control you or be some type of way about how you're choosing how to conduct yourself, when it's like, you know what, like I am, you're not going to tell me what to do, like what.
yeah, exactly.
It happens.
It happens, unfortunately. I remember like when I first started, like my first foray into cam, like this is back in 2020, and I was on like my free cams because like I'm just gonna try it out, gotta dip my toes, lost all my jobs, and then of course you're gonna have those people in your room. They're like, oh, like let me show you how to do this, and I'll like moderate and
Mhm.
blah blah blah. And he's like, now you owe me this. I'm like, I don't fucking owe you
Freeloader.
anything. Yeah, I'm like,
Not
get out of
even
here.
freeloading, like still just asking for free. Like they will definitely be there doing that. I definitely say
Yeah,
something, and some performers are very scared because, like, when you're new and you don't know even what a real tip is, like they'll be in there trying to fake tip you, and you think like, and you're like, and it's like, what the heck? Like, there are those users, thankfully, those angel users that will like kind of come in and be like, oh, that's not, or like try to
that's
help
not
you
right.
out or tell you like, I don't know, sometimes I've had them be like, don't talk to her like that, stick up for me. And I'm like, but it usually has to take me sticking up for myself first, which is
Yeah.
like kind of ridiculous. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I mean, that maybe helped me grow some balls too. So
Me too, me too. Because I was like, oh hells no, I'm not gonna give you anything unless you pay me first. Number one rule in sex work, as we all know, get paid first, get the money in
go
front.
to private and then you can talk to me like that, okay?
Exactly.
Which
Like,
I've had before. It was so crazy, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm in private.
no,
Funny.
I hear you. I hear you with that. The struggle is real. I hate like having to gatekeep those people because it's so exhausting sometimes. Like, can you just leave? Block. Goodbye.
Mhm. But still stay subscribed and like and comment.
Yeah, exactly right. There's a fine line. There's a fine line.
Uh-huh.
I also wanted to talk to you about, like, along with this conversation with virtual reality, and as we go into, yeah, more into like teledildonics. Oh my god, I had to like take a second to try to pronounce that. Teledildonics. Can you explain to the audience what that term might mean and how that can really enhance like your stream, your performance, your shows? Tell us about this new technology.
So
Newish.
teledildonics. So I guess the broader term is cyberdildonics, and
Okay.
teledildonics is kind of a little branch part of that, and it involves like interactive, um, basically virtually interactive use of pleasure products. And there's different kinds that you can find. Um, I'll use Fleshlight as an example because I was a Fleshlight girl. So they have something, and there's also another company, Kiru. They have the launch. I don't. There's different companies, and it's so cool because, and it's revolutionary because when we talk about being immersed into, and this kind of comes into the virtual reality as well. So imagine virtual reality already immersed. We bring in teledildonics. Teledildonics, even aside on its own, is another thing. You are
Yeah.
bringing the feel from a long distance. Like you can be on the other side of the world and like, having this connection, an intimate connection with somebody. And you throw VR into that and it's like you're there or a lot more closer. Not
Yeah.
necessarily like it's the same thing as being there, but the closest thing that you can be. And when we think about and want to incorporate, let's say, like as a human, the five senses, you already
Hmm.
got the touch going on there, which is a major one.
Yeah.
The vision, you need the smell. I guess you know what? Whenever I send like panties or socks, I put my signature smell on it or whatever. So I'm like, you could throw the smell in there too. Smell-o-vision. I've thought about smell-o-vision. I'm like, how can we do that? But
Yeah. Next
it,
technology.
I know, right? But yeah, I'm sidetracking again, but it, it's very teledildonics, cyberdildonics. It can be very, very intimate, a very intimate experience.
Yeah. It would kind of like how I kind of perceive it to be is that you're just kind of like enhancing your experience and like leveling that shit up to like you're almost there. You're
Yeah.
almost there and you have that closeness, you have that connection, and it's almost like more quote unquote like realistic.
Yeah, it really is. And it's even really, I mean, it is. It's virtual reality.
Reality.
Real reality. But no, it really is. And it even like whenever you throw in the pleasure aspect to it, because it goes both ways, there's toys and stuff for girls that guys can even with Motor Bunny, you can use an app literally from your phone to control what's going on with somebody else's product
Yeah,
in a different room in where somewhere else, literally anywhere else. And the fact that they're just like gonna enhance that product, like I really I wonder what's gonna be the future with more of that because I know there's some people that are very, very, I'd say even obsessed in these major companies that they want to make it work. They're gonna make it
yeah,
work, and they're gonna find a way to get people to, I guess, spend on more immersive type things. And
totally. And why not though? Like, why not? Because I feel like people, the ultimate goal, the ultimate fantasy. I want to say not goal, but the fantasy is like, okay, like you are, in this closeness, this girlfriend experience, like virtual sex, kind of.
I'm
I
like,
don't know.
that's my
Overlap.
thing. Yes, I'm like, yes, like girlfriend experience for sure. And it's like you really because like okay, what whenever you're playing a game, I don't know if whenever you're playing your VR game, if you had the open space, enough open space where you didn't bump into anything. But like when you do like touch something else, it's like, oh, like it's the actual reality, right? That you kind of get knocked
Yeah,
back into. But whenever a guy is literally sitting at his on the bed or wherever and they're either on headset or at their laptop, they're stationary, they're literally stationary, and it's the perfect opportunity to add this kind of experience, not just to experience it as a whole new experience, but to market even. Like, what the heck? Like, wow. And as being somebody in the adult, as both of us being people in the adult industry, like all I've been seeing is like a lot of VR content being pushed out. Maybe that's my
Mm.
like whatever's in my algorithm or whatever. So it's all the VR shit coming up, but it's just like wow. I hope that the accessibility. I'm like, oh, I'm answering some questions, but like I hope accessibility really becomes a lot more available to people, especially people that might not have that kind of access or the resource to.
Yeah, do you think that's like a major pitfall for like VR equipment and like VR in general?
I think so.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think so. I actually have notes on my phone and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I almost want to pull them out and be like, these are some of the reasons why I kind of try to think about these different things and how to implement and what not to implement in where I'm going in my VR space. Because I, of course, have like people that are like my top customers and whatnot, but how can I involve people to also be brought into that if maybe they don't have a freaking regular steady job where they can even
yeah,
afford to get a dang headset?
yeah. It's yeah. There's definitely a yeah barrier there. I would say for most folks, right? But like, what about like I know we briefly mentioned it earlier too, but like, what's your take on VR porn and that being a huge new thing as well?
I like it. I want more people to produce it. I want more people to be like I would I I You know, I've never been one that has knocked down virtual reality because it is technology. And I've always thought that anything within technology, like as people work on things and invest and whatnot, it can only get better. So, like,
Mhm.
people in gaming already are so about some of those VR games. Like,
Yeah,
it's just a matter of time. And maybe it's not everybody's cup of tea, which is fine. But, even these new generations, and as we include things like the metaverse with VR and being immersed, like that's just going to be like, that's a whole new generation, like onto newer, I don't know, whatever kind of things are going to be happening back or later.
yeah, and well, that's what I was gonna ask too. Like, yeah, one of my questions too was about like virtual reality and metaverse. Like, is there a link between VR reality, like VR reality, virtual reality, and the metaverse? Is that like where things are gonna go? Do you think?
I think things are going to go different kinds of ways, to be honest. And whatever floats different people's boats, because some people really do want that full immersed experience. I feel the metaverse is definitely, and there's VR chat and stuff like that. Like, those are like the people that are already like really intrigued and about it. And there's people that, sometimes I create just like these little 360 clips that I can put on Twitter or on Instagram so that people kind of get a feel for it and maybe might want to see something. So like there's a level to like the interest of everybody, right? But
Totally.
you know, I just see there's just so much potential once somebody really does know a little bit more about the space and what it
Hmm.
provides, like what it really does provide.
Yeah, and what doors it can open for people and their experiences as well. Like I think that's so important. I think people need to have an open mind, and I understand that people are or can be quite hesitant for new and emerging technology. There's maybe a degree of skepticism that comes with this, so maybe that's why not as many people are jumping on board just yet. They're just kind of waiting to see how it develops, where it develops, what's going to be developed out of it.
Yeah, I've seen some other brands kind of try to do some metaversey stuff. And for me, for example, like I'm whenever I think about the metaverse, I think of a lot of different things cuz like there's so many different things that are considered sex tech in my vision. Some people think it's just like toys and whatnot, but for me, performers are going to be on the metaverse too at some point. I mean, they're already.
Very
And
rare.
I try to involve that with projects that I'm doing, and try to kind of immerse that metaverse feel. It might not be metaverse with a headset unless you want it to be,
Mhm.
but you know, there's things like 3D printing and 3D modeling and a whole bunch of like they're really immersing 3D modeling into the metaverse type space. And so there's a lot of opportunity there for performers to be a part of it, and if they want to do it for fun, be interested in it, but they're going to start monetizing in some kind of way or another. And you can already do that even with 3D printing,
Mhm.
3D modeled heads and 3D modeled figures and stuff like that. So there's just a lot of space and room to grow, I think, in all aspects. And of course, there's these things to make it better and more
Yes.
easier to do, right? But we're getting there. We're getting
We're
there.
getting there. We're getting there. Exactly. I think maybe there might be some benefit for those who are early adopters like yourself, just to kind of get ahead of the curve, and also just to really educate yourself on VR and where it's going, like, and just having this whole conversation with the wealth of knowledge that you do have. So, people listening, take note.
Yes, and
Take note.
also like help us too whenever if there's
Yeah.
stuff going on. Like we need you to be aware of what's going on too.
Absolutely. And I know that like we wanted to include a conversation around AI, and this will just be a really, really brief conversation too, because I do have a whole episode coming out in a couple weeks on AI, which is
Yay!
exciting stuff. And yeah, I was curious to like, is there any link between VR and AI at all? Or are they like parallel in any way?
I feel like all technologies are very parallel in all ways.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Whenever we talk about AI and VR, whenever you go into VR, I'm sure like you've seen like there's little models of certain people or certain, and people get those, let's say people get the inspiration and the images from somewhere to be able to create those certain images, and sometimes a lot of times it's without consent.
Yes.
And you know i'm I might not be the most knowledgeable, and I might not know how to code or whatever, but I do know that the adult industry is a very big part of um, data that's used to be able to use certain things like that.
Yes.
So I think it's something to keep our eye on, and to not, and to be, I guess, try to be ahead of the curve on like, hey, how is this overall going to impact? Because people already know and like have ideas of like, hey, they know it's wrong, and how we
Mhm.
can what we can do to be better at not being exploited whenever it comes to involving us into these VR and AI spaces and tech spaces, and how maybe we can make it beneficial for all companies involved, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, like you definitely said some really key things there. That a lot of it would center around consent, and like with the whole thing with that Lens app that came out in December, and like a lot of like stolen artwork and stuff. Right, the fuck, right? What the fuck? Yeah, like we really have to kind of keep our eyes out on that kind of technology and how that might be utilized in a potentially harmful kind of way, or against us. Like I am currently working with a master's student on her research on how some companies are using AI to kind of scan and scour full service sex worker ads, like escort ads, and they're trying to scan either images or certain keywords that might quote unquote trigger human trafficking. Yeah, yeah. And I'm just like, this is
I'm
problematic.
like,
This is
but am I
problematic.
surprised? Really? Like, I believe it, but it's
I
like,
know.
when? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I was disappointed to hear that. Really disappointed to hear that, because yeah,
it's always
the
disappointing.
research student that I'm working with got to interview like a lot of sex workers and kind of get their take on what's happening, and like, do you think this kind of technology is more harmful than useful, the overwhelming response to that is definitely harmful and that we won't be able to prove anything at all. Which I'm
You
also
know
not
what
surprised.
the thing is too, I and I just can't help but I feel like saying every time the conversation of like, the industry, the adult industry and sex trafficking is brought up, and it's like, the adult industry is not sex trafficking. Sex
Yes.
trafficking, adult industry are
Separate.
consent, the main, like, like the sex.
But it doesn't even cross. It doesn't even cross.
Because they are, let's say, I don't know, is it the sexual nature? I don't know what, like, there is a business, literally business models around, and I mean, I guess fucking sex trafficking, but they're not.
They're not one and the same. It does not equal, like, yes, like, and we've said this like many times in the show too, like with the whole like Fosta Sesta bill. Yeah, like it's so problematic. And like exploited persons do not have consent. That is a difference. And we are consenting to be in this line of work.
Exactly.
Mic drop.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, and you did it. I was like, yep. You already know.
It's true. It's just like I'm so tired of hearing that like argument, and politicians keep trying to push this like very like one note, one sided, like deer in headlights view on what human trafficking is, and it is, we keep getting conflated with it.
Yes, and the adult industry is not perfect, just like any other industry that there is. Like, there's definitely things we can work on, just like any other industry, but we're just like any other industry. We just do sex, and I
Thank
guess the
you.
sex part is an issue for some people.
Yeah. Ugh, which is super
And some
frustrating.
people don't even do sex. You know what? That's what's that.
It's so true. It's so true.
I'm
It's just
like, wait a second, I don't even do sex, and here I am. That's funny.
like, I
But it's
know.
not, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean.
I know exactly what you mean. No, yeah, no. It's, yeah, that's another topic we can, I'm sure we've probably touched on like almost every episode on the show because we're all like sick and tired of hearing about that side of things. But I would love to, I guess, to kind of wrap this portion of our conversation up, like where do you see the future of cam going, and like VR? Is there anything new that you've heard in your funnel or?
That I heard, there's things that I heard in the past, and it was definitely a lot of hate on cam. So I'm like, you know what? Look at
Oh,
this revolution. Like, literally, it's like we fast forwarded 10 years, because when the pandemic happened, it were already right before, 2 years prior to yeah, everything just like, and I'm like, yep, there you go. Like,
yeah,
I don't know as far as new. I know VR streaming is probably going to be a new hot thing that goes on, but it is part of camming, and camming in its own is just such a great thing. I hope there's more people that join the community, and feel
Mhm.
more, I'd like to say, safe, and want to come out and be a part of the community openly. But I understand, people that aren't. But I mean, I just see so much for Cam. I see so much for Cam. Literally, it's the internet. Cam is,
It's
and
literally the internet.
specifically live stream camming. It's
Hmm.
sure, it's great to have the passive income of clips and whatever, and that the monetary aspect. But when it comes to live stream camming, there is an aspect to that in real time that nothing else can capture. Like,
Yeah, it's so true though. It's so true, and also really fun.
I know it really is. You never know when, I don't know. I'm gonna say some shit like that can't be edited out. I don't know, or do something. I don't know.
Well, on that note, why don't we move over to a couple questions that came in as well from the audience? The first one is, what kind of changes would you like to see in the next few years in the industry? And this person kind of put an example here for VR spaces and the Latinx sex worker community.
So I thought about I've thought about this a lot, actually, because I the change. It's here, it's happening, it's always going to happen. But specifically around the discrimination in the adult and tech companies, I would love
Mm-hmm.
to see more change and more diversifying, and more diversity, like on all levels. That goes from the top down, like, and for I actually want to mention Groovy.
Oh
I
yeah.
think it's Groovy, and I think they just got the Groovy girls, right? They got a new brand ambassador, and shouts to her because she's a fellow Latina. She's Mexican,
Oh, amazing.
and I for a while was, congratulations to her. And I'm like, I love to see it. Whoever made that happen, whatever, from the final decision to whoever suggested this performer to be a representation of the trans community as a Mexican Latina, that makes me so happy.
Yes.
So
We are
I love
clapping.
seeing. I know, and I saw somebody else on Twitter recently win something, many vids of the year or something, and I was
Oh,
like, oh my god,
that's
like
awesome.
she's also Latina, and it's just like I was really upset at the industry for a minute. Sometimes I can't be still upset because I feel there
Mhm.
still needs to be more community and involvement
Oh,
within
absolutely.
platforms and the government as well. But
Yeah.
I just love seeing more representation among Latinos. And there's a lot more that we can do. And I feel like that we deserve the recognition, and not only to be recognized, but to celebrate those things. And that's I need to find more of our community so that we can have that, like, hey, like another one of us is doing good, like let's all, like, support each other with that,
And
because
celebrate it.
exactly.
Yeah, that's super important. Well, you'll be happy. I am interviewing another Latina for next week. Right after you.
Oh,
So yeah, we're bringing on Cami Strella onto the show, who will
well,
be
I'm
talking
gonna
to us
definitely
about
see that episode.
yeah, it'll be right right after yours, which is really exciting. And like even like what I like to do in my show too is to really try to diversify as much as I can as well. And because I think it's really important because we are also a minority, huge minority, and also as you mentioned earlier, fetishized in many different ways, and just want to see more of us up here.
Yes, I agree. And then whenever we all come together, it's like awesome. Like
Yeah.
we need each other. We really need each other.
Yeah, we do, and it's so important. So it's really great to have us like celebrate these kind of moments because
That's why I
sometimes
want to
they're
thank
hard
you. Thank
too.
you for having me here. Like I was so happy and honored. I was like, oh my God, like yes.
Oh yes. But there is one more question that came in as well, so we'll do that, and then we'll plug all the things because we want
Okay.
everyone to find you. So I think this is a really important question too. But what do you do for self care slash to decompress from work?
I eat really good and sleep.
Yes.
Whenever I say I sleep, I sleep. And I love to get spoiled. Like, as far as self-care, I know that might not necessarily be me, but like when somebody provides my self-care for me, that's
Yeah.
even better.
Yes. Such a treat.
Sleep, and also sleep.
Sleep is the best.
I'm like, I also want. I guess sometimes I don't know if this counts though. Like I like to extend wherever I travel. Like I like to add a week or however long it is wherever it is. But I just like to extend my stay in different cities or countries that I
Yeah.
visit for work, because I'm like I want to indulge and enjoy this experience, and I feel like that definitely can be self care for sure.
Oh, that definitely counts for sure. Yeah, you gotta treat yourself. Like it's really hard for us to turn off sometimes and like not work.
Yes, especially because we are on our own time, so it's like, oh, it's all the time.
Yeah,
We're
all the
us.
time.
Yes.
But no, sound advice. Yeah, and I loved your answers too because they're very similar to mine as well. Eating and sleeping and traveling, which is literally my life. So, but Banksy, where can we all find you?
So y'all can find me everywhere on my website, banksietv.com. I have YouTube, Banksie TV. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and maybe TikTok sometime soon.
Yes, a goal for 2023.
Some people's goals. We'll see. I'm like, I might. We'll see. Okay.
I know it's like it's a lot sometimes, and you're just like, oh my god, everything is content. Everything is content.
Yes, literally. My food. I was recording yesterday. Oh, this is content. That was a good meal.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So everyone, please follow, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things for Miss Banksy. You know where to find her. And for everyone else listening at home or wherever you are in your commute or whatever you're doing right now, it's Stripped by Sia on Twitter, on Instagram, strippedbysia.com if you want to pitch yourself to be on the show or just give me any kind of feedback. Again, my Patreon is patreon.com/strippedbysia. And you can find me in all major podcast platforms. Just be sure to subscribe. I would love if you want to rate 5 stars on Apple. That's just how a lot of people can find the show and gain access to the show. It's a free resource for everybody. So please do that. Give me your honest reviews and ratings. And
No, y'all better do 5 stars.
I'll do 5 stars. Exactly. And it's new episodes every single Sunday, dropping at midnight. So yeah, we'll stay tuned for another episode next week. Thank you so much for joining me, Banksy. It was so much fun. Bye. You're listening to Stripped by Sia, hosted, produced, and edited by Steph Sia. Music by Ted D. Graphic design by Maria Bellandarama, and photography by Ian Dabrin.